Okay, this is not exactly how I anticipated the stream starting. But because I'm just going to be chatting with you for a minute, we're just gonna oh there. Okay, cool, there it is. Alright, yeah, not entirely how I anticipated this stream starting with Magpie. You wanna participate or you just wanna be close? I think he just wants to be close, so we're gonna let him. Um So I know typically I'm not on this side of the camera. I've been doing a lot of just here's what I'm working on and uh, going ahead and working on it kind of stuff. Um, this time I wanted it to be a little bit different. Uh, I do kind of need to. I was going to post the live links, but now I kind of. Do I really need to? I don't know. Let's see. What the idea for today okay, let's go back to the beginning. My intention with this stream was to kind of blend two different genres of YouTube videos, like my favorite like DIY videos and then like study with me streams where we have like I have a specific duration of time that I'm just working on a thing and you're watching me work on a thing. Um, and then there'd be like a Q and A at the end of that. So like for me, I've got it on like 50 minutes of work to 10 minutes of Q&A. Um, is currently the format I've been using and enjoying with a Pomodoro timer so you can see like when it's time for working and when it's time for chatting. Um, and the idea is for it to serve as kind of like a body doubling thing which I know a lot of neurodivergent people like to use. Um, so essentially, what that is you would turn on the stream or tune into. A lot of folks will do co-working, like Zoom calls, essentially, where everybody's working on their thing independently, but you're conscious that there's another person that's also working on their stuff while you're working on your stuff. And so it makes it a little easier for you to get into the right headspace to do the thing you want to do. Um, and for me, that's making art, um, and working in my studio. So most of my streams have just kind of been, the idea has been that you can log on, have the stream going, and then also have a craft project that you want to work on. And you can either, you can, uh, the purpose would be for the streams to be a little more ambient, essentially. Um, so I have like ambient lo-fi hip hop going in the background, and you're just kind of watching whatever project it is that I'm working on, like in real time. Which I also think is important because a lot of creatives do these wildly satisfying to watch time lapses of them working. And as much as I love making a time lapse, I don't think it's really true to how much time you end up spending on like even like taking and editing and the video that you end up making, like, and people spend 30 seconds with it and then are like, ooh, that's cool, and then go to buy your product and are like, why is it so expensive? It's like, oh yeah, did you read the part about it being 40 hours worth of work I condensed into 3 minutes? Like, and so the live stream is a way of kind of circumventing that and it serves a slightly different purpose, I think. Um, it's also a way for me to create content that isn't infringing upon the time I have to work in the studio as much. Because I don't, when I come into the studio, I like to be working with my hands a lot. I don't always want to be having to do stuff on the computer or feeling like I have to do stuff on the computer, so I neglect my favorite thing to do, which is things with my hands. So this is a way of kind of getting both, like developing a content library, giving you a peek into what it actually is like to be an artist working, um, all while creating content that is hopefully at least somewhat engaging. Um, and hopefully folks will start to engage with it eventually. But I know that the videos that have, a talking head or, someone at least talking to the video tend to do a little bit better. And also today I'm in the process of developing an idea for a new installation, and I figured it might be kind of interesting for me to just like chat about that for a little bit. So that is what we're gonna do. And then I'll probably I'll gab at you for a while. I set aside time from right now at around 3 p.m. till 5 to do this. And yeah, Magpie will stick around for as long as it's safe. Since I'm just sketching and chatting, it's probably he can stick around for a bit. What do you say, buddy? May I say hi? Well, just gonna try and spin her around so you can see his little face, but maybe eventually he'll turn around and take a look at what I'm doing. So yeah, that's a little bit about the channel, the idea for the channel, the way these videos normally work, and then today is just kind of a like little outlier. Granted, again, if folks end up really liking this or really going back and watching it, I might make this like a regular thing where like maybe one video a week. I'm shooting for 2 videos a week, um, or streams rather, 2 streaming sessions a week, and maybe one of those can be a just me working on the thing, and the other one can be a me talking more about like the conceptual part of it, if this ends up being interesting to folks. So, woo. Um, now I have to remember. No, now I have to decide whether I want to be boring and spend time posting to Instagram. Let's see if anybody's on the stream. All right, nobody's here right now. And if you end up watching the recording of this later, because I do always post them, so if folks can't um, participate, um, if folks can't participate like in the moment, right when I'm live, you can still see what I'm doing. And it serves as an interesting like uh, time capsule for me to be able to look back later on like where I was now in my art process versus where I might be in the future. Um, so yeah, I fully recognize that this is not going to be very interesting, but I'm going to try, since now I have a camera on me, to not get sucked into just doing Instagram shit, i.e., scrolling, and instead posting what I need to post. I need recent videos. Is that going to have it? So many videos. There's one that's kind of what I wanted. Here it is. All right, so posting that I'm live on YouTube. I'm linking it up to the stream link that I had to email myself. Okay, where's the email I just sent me? Okay, there it is. Not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Oop, uh-oh. Don't multitask. Okay. Or I am multitasking. And I would move the camera down, but then you could really see the under eye bags that I've got going on. So we're going to stick with this angle, even though it's slightly more awkward. Um, boop, boop, 12. And we're going to save it so that I can then repost it. have anything on here about what time I am. Okay, adding that to my store. How lovely. Truly boring. Don't really need to check notifications. I just need something to click on while I wait for this to post. Okay, cool. The warning message has disappeared. That's good. I gotta wait for the story to finish posting. I really need to get like a social media management software, but I don't know which one to get. So if anyone has recommendations um, for ones that you actually use, not just uh, some product you're repping or whatever. Um, yeah, if you have recommendations, if you are neurodivergent, have a YouTube or social media that you regularly have to update, and have a recommendation on what post scheduling software you use, I would love it. Honestly, I should have just done this earlier today or crafted these posts so I could just post them earlier today. But you know what? Some days I have my crap together and some days I don't, and apparently I don't always have my stuff together. Okay, there we go. Add this to story. Does that link even work? I don't know. I don't want people to click on it and then not be able to go. YouTube link. We're in here. Burp, burp. Sometimes being very much a millennial and not remembering how or keeping up with how social media works is a pain in the ass. Whee! Okay. So, do 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 do. There are so many markets that I can't decide if I want to be part of or not, or can't plan ahead in time. Blah, 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 blah. There we go. Okay. So, social posts have been done. I think the first thing I'm going to work on tomorrow, and I should write this down so I don't forget about it. I didn't bring my planner in here, so. And not to say that planners will always be the best for you. Honestly, I got a cheap one so I could just use it however I wanted and be like, okay, I spent $5 on this. I know it's not necessarily going to like blow my mind or anything, but it's nice to have. And I like to have something to physically write things down on. Makes it easier for me to lock in up here. Because I can really easily get distracted with trying to hold on to all of these little tangents. And remember when things are happening. And that's a lot for one brain to do at one time. Okay. Oh no, where'd the thought go? Where did the thought go? Where did it go? Yeah, no, this is how this goes. Oh god, I'm trying to narrate what I'm doing while I'm in my studio doing the thing I do. It had to do with scheduling and scheduling software and line a post schedule for streaming on YouTube itself. I didn't do that this time. I feel like that might actually help. Since I gained a new subscriber, I don't even know who it is yet. I just got a notification. It's like, you've got a new subscriber. I'm like, I need to log on and find out what's going on there. Okay. So I got that post schedule. If I think of any of this later, I will write it down. So now I've got scrap paper to do that on and a gel pen, which means it's shiny and harder for me to ignore. Okay. And it seems like the audio is working all right. I will periodically check that. Ooh, trying to figure out what. There you go. Now you can see the cat sleeping in the background. He's a lover, not a fighter. What a weird angle. Okay. So I did. It's a car alarm going on. Okay, friends and fam, I know your car is able to notify you that it's either is or isn't being broken into. Womp womp. Okay. Well, it's not stopping. It's a painfully annoying overlapping noise, what I'm trying to do. So I will just try and stay on task as much as I can and actually work on things. Okay, here's the Pomodoro timer. I think what I'm gonna do, I don't normally last this long. Thank you. Okay, so we'll chat and do research until around like 4. I'll keep an eye on the time. I don't know why I'm typing like a pirate in my chat section, but I think it's mostly to keep me entertained. So that I don't give up on this before it has a chance to work. Uh, because I don't want to give up on this. I like this. Streaming is fun, and making art is fun, and I just I want to make art for a living, and that's a really hard thing to do. So this is how I've decided that I'm going to do it. Okay. I wish I had. Okay, I might actually have to move the camera because this is going to be really boring if you can't see, like, if I'm researching at the same time that I'm streaming. Oh, say hey, Magpie. With your pretty green eyes. Say hi, buddy. Oh, now he's going to take this as an invitation to jump in my lap. Oh, nope. Switching sides. Okay. All right, so I'm going to try and change the camera angle so that I don't constantly have to keep looking up and can also keep track of what's going on. Okay, sorry, I know this is awkward. I can, in fact, center the ring light. And then it becomes an issue of the ring light is in my way. Okay, that's better. I'm gonna tilt it back up a little bit. Okay, cool. That was a much brighter light in my face. Okay. But I think that's more engaging. Okay, so My stream status keeps going down. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if that's an internet thing, a bandwidth thing. There's not enough motion in front of my camera. I don't know. Probably not. Hi, Magpie. What did I tell you, folks? Oh, I think he wanted to play earlier. And I was like, all right, you wiener, I have to go stream. He was like, I don't think so. Okay. So the idea is to explore the concept of time travel, but not in a like you get in a machine and it takes you back to another period of time. Um, uh, Not exactly in that way. Um, I think it's an interesting thing. I feel like I used to do this when I was younger and I didn't understand the concept of being embodied in my body because late diagnosed neurodivergence. Um, when I was there and I'd be having a rough time, I'd be wanting to try and find um, ways to escape, which I think escapism is still really common. And one way of doing that would be like I would crave hanging out with certain people um, because most of what we would do was like talk about like basically get all nostalgic about how life used to be. Um, and I think exploring that and treating that as a kind of time travel would be really interesting. Finding a way to express that visually, which is always the hard thing, without me just having a video going, this is what I'm trying to communicate. Because part of the fun of art is communicating without words. Um, I'm really particular about being understood, and as such, I'm very particular about word choice when I'm communicating. Um, and there are a lot of reasons for that, not the least of which being I'm quite quite sure at this point that I'm somewhere on the autism spectrum, so I'm just used to not being uh, understood. Um, and then there's the weird childhood trauma that goes along with that, and my brain taking things very very literally always, and it's a whole complicated ball of wax that I'm still learning about. Because I never even would have considered this a thing until a couple of years ago when a friend told me I probably should. Or told me, like, have you ever considered that you might be somewhere on the spectrum? And I was like, nope, not even a little bit, not even at all. And as soon as I started looking into it, I was like, oh man, this explains a lot about my life. Okay, stream health has gone back up. I don't know how. How are we doing this? All right, analytics. It's flipping weird. Probably just a bandwidth thing. Sorry, I am keeping an eye on the picture, and it's driving me nuts that the you can see the ring light, but if there's no ring light, then it's me in the dark. And I hate that too. Oh god, okay. Nope, maybe I can. Nope. Oh, that's better. Cool. I just learned it. Oh, well, as long as I like look straight forward for the most part, that's good. I can do this a lot easier. Um, my affectation is already slightly stiff and uncomfortable. Let's just work with it. Okay, cool, that's better. Is that the little circle was like right over my eyeball, and I was like, this is annoying. So painfully annoying. Um, okay. So yeah, the concept is time travel. I was thinking about portals for a while, and how like if you're not super present in your body all the time, like a lot of neurodivergent folks struggle with that, um, that like just the simple act of touching something, anything, picking up the cat, uh, any kind of sensory feedback that you're getting can like immediately kind of like jolt you back into your body. Like we get really good at doing a kind of like astral project myself 100 feet away thing. And So it can feel kind of like you're jumping into a time portal all of a sudden, like you've been somewhere in the past or the future, thinking about what the future is going to be like or what your past has been like. You're daydreaming, you're totally out of it, you're like not paying attention to your body whatsoever. You're so engaged with a task uh, that you're just gone from your body, and then you like brush up against something like or you bump your elbow on something and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, I have a body." Like that as a sort of like traveling through time. I think it makes the most sense when you think of it in terms of like thinking nostalgically or worrying about the future and getting caught up in that worry and caught up in that like uh temporal difference between like really concentrating on what something might be like in the future or something that happened in the past and not paying attention to the present. And then like if you're wandering around bumping into something, um or if you're like, you know, writing on a pad of paper and uh, you go to turn the page and get a paper cut and all of a sudden you're just like whooshed back to the here and now. For me it's like if any other person like taps me on the shoulder um or anything like that, I'm immediately like, well, that's a bad example because if you touch me on the shoulder, I am going to yeet myself 100 feet away from my body immediately because I do not. I'm very sensitive to touch. If I don't know you, I really don't want you to touch me. Like I'm a very pleasant um, person and I enjoy talking to other people and being social. I just don't no touchy. Like just don't touch me. Um, if you like know me well enough that we've like sat down and had coffee for like an hour and they're just like, want a hug? I'll be like, heck yeah. But if you're just like a random person on the street who like watches my videos and comes up to me and I've never met you before in my life and you're just like, you feel like my sibling and want to give me a hug or just like, you know, tap me on the shoulder and like you're gonna startle me. I'm gonna jump and it's gonna be a whole thing. And yeah, at that point I, you know, astral project into back to the new millennium. I don't know. Um, but yeah, this concept of time travel, the concept of like touch being able to bring you back into your body, even if you're like feel like you're engaging in the present, but you're really not, um, because you're not engaging with like your body. Like you'll be talking about something in therapy and we'll have to take a moment because you're talking through a flashback you're having in the moment, uh, where your brain is thinking that your whole being is in that situation in the past. And then, you know, your therapist has to remind you to like do something grounding, to like, I don't know, all the kids say to touch grass. I don't, that's like grounding yourself in nature. But like touching something, like a lot of us has fidget toys. And that's another way of like keeping track of your body. Um, and like staying present, but like that intensity, like the way touch can bring you back into your body in the present tense where you're actually paying attention to it, I think would be interesting to treat as a sort of time travel. And a similar thing being thinking of like psychologically what it does to your brain when you uh, crave spending time or just do spend a lot of time with friends where you just talk about how awesome it was when you were younger. And that's like what you mostly focus on with those friends. Like, I think that qualifying as a sort of mental time travel is really interesting. And I do think it's a concept that does actually already exist. I started reading a research paper about it. Well, not about that specifically, but about just time travel in general and how we think about it. And there is totally a term for it, and I'm going to butcher the term. Actually, I just fully don't remember it. I hope I saved the article I was reading. Yay! All right, so the challenge then becomes this like, okay, so this concept of you purposely make physical contact with something to bring yourself back into the present, to like bring yourself back into your body and fully like your existence where, you're actually fully in the present, not mentally somewhere else. So, like, you are mentally exactly right where you are in this moment. And if none of this is making sense to you, you're probably not neurodivergent. I don't know. Probably not a space case. Um, oh, encoding is overloaded. This is so annoying to look at while I'm trying to make a point. Oh, don't play with that. That is the cable that is keeping this computer alive. Yes, that is frayed cord. But yeah, the idea being that you do a little bit of you do a lot of time traveling as a neurodivergent person. And like, how do I convey this visually and interactively in a gallery or even a classroom setting so that other people can experience that? Um, and it not just, yeah, that time travel isn't just, hopping in a time machine, like hopping into the TARDIS and then picking a time to go to and then going there. That like time travel can be these even more like infinitesimal, tiny, like actual personal experiences that we have every day. Um, which I like. I think that's a theme in my work is like making the small, tiny, intimate details feel very big, magnifying them, putting them on display, um, and showing how compelling even the most small, minuscule details can be, or even taking like I struggle with seeing or understanding like the big picture. Um, I get caught up in the details and then I don't necessarily know how to get unstuck out of the pile of details. So, oh, my train of thought, it left the station without me. Oh, so yeah, okay, so we did, yeah, time travel is, oh yeah, big to small, big to small. Um, now I'm doing the Doctor Evil thing. I don't know why. But yeah, looking at things or looking at or being in a space that's really big and then trying to condense that feeling of magnanimity or like the sublime, even just that awe of being in the presence of something really huge, and then turning that kind of experience into a much like smaller, more condensed version for someone else to be able to take in, because you're taking this like big experience of, for instance, I love drainage ditches. You have to be very careful. Like, obviously I'm not going down into the drainage ditch in the middle of summer rainy season. Like, we're not messing with the arroyos at that time. Especially if there's wet like rain in the forecast. We're not trying to provoke La Llorona or be her. Um, but during like a dry period of drought, or there's no projected rainfall, like going down into the drainage ditch and just enjoying a giant structure made of concrete that you can stand in the middle of, I find really compelling. Uh, and end up liking to take photos both of like as much of the arroyo as I can get into the camera frame, and then also like the little itty bitty, like weird, like if you're underneath, like if the road goes across the arroyo, a lot of times like giant nuts and bolts and things will have fallen onto the ground. And like I'll find one that I like and I'll pick it up or I'll like take pictures of it. Like there's, all kinds of trash that people leave behind. They'll be biking on a bike trail and it'll get blown into the ditch, or they just chuck it. I don't know. I don't understand the motivation behind people just throwing their garbage anywhere. Um, But that also might just be me and the way my brain works, where it's like, "Oh, this is garbage. Garbage goes in the garbage can. Garbage doesn't just go anywhere. It has to go in the garbage can. Otherwise, that's making a mess. It's bad for the environment. Don't do that." Um, Hi, Magpie. He's being really, really cute. Oh, buddy. I love him so much. He's our last surviving cat. We had two for a while, but Oscar passed away. But anyway, yeah, talking about like making big things more accessible and small things seem like really grand because I think they really are. I think if getting lost in the details and realizing how many of them are present, uh, and how all of these little itty bitty teeny weeny instances combine together to make uh, an experience of the world is really compelling, and something that I like to make artwork about. Um, so the idea of taking on time travel, which is a huge concept, uh, comprising of all of space time. Woo! Oh, here we go again. All right, Chunky. I love him, but he's not the world's most graceful cat. Truly, I've watched him fall off a windowsill more than once. How you doing, bud? Okay. But yeah, time travel, it's this massive, massive, massive concept. And I'm trying to figure out how I can kind of condense it even to um, something that can be, well, I mean, like represented in the physical world, which is its own challenge. I guess I could write down what the challenges are going to be here. I'm going to grab my little dry erase board. It's right behind the camera. Okay. Dry erase board with a bunch of magnets and to-dos that were to done weeks ago or never got to done. That's a magnet. Magnets and computers don't mix. Okay, this thing is set up like days of the week, but we're gonna use the days of the week to become containers for concepts. Oh no! I have to reset my stream. Oh no, there it goes. We're going from stream is healthy to stream is not healthy very quickly. We are oscillating back and forth. Oh boy. Okay. So I'm going to title my whiteboard theme Challenges Representing. Now I'm just going to put time travel on the top. I always want to get super specific, and then that ends up being a dumb idea. All right, time travel. All right, it says time travel at the top. Now, ASMR. Now, if this is my concept, one of the first challenges I have is uh, condensing all of time and space. Yeah, we're just gonna, yeah, condensing all of time and space into one room. Oh, and it's legible because I inadvertently left the image flipped. Yay. Mm, fascinating smell in these expo markers. All right, so my first issue is, yeah, trying to condense down all of time and space uh, to convey my idea about time travel. Um, we're just gonna also write, I am not a quantum physicist. Though we could read, I mean, I might read some quantum physics research. Why not? Why the hell not? I got a lot of brains, space. Uh, I got a lot of boredom to cure. My mind is all over the place all of the time, looking for enough stimulation to keep me going. And I can fill my silence with a million and one podcasts, which I do love to do, but I do miss school for, going to class and really thinking about things. So yeah, no, my brain muscle is not getting enough exercise, so screw it. I'll read some quantum physics. Why not? Um, with just about any subject matter, there's usually people out there who want that subject matter to be easily accessible, even quantum physics, I'm sure. So I'll find it. Okay. Time travel. So big concept, how do I narrow it down to one, like a one room installation? Uh ooh, how to relate, because I feel like touch is a big part of this. How to relate touch as a concept to time travel. And I'm gonna say because I did design an installation around this that I don't necessarily know if I'm gonna get to bring to life. Um, how to relate touch to a touch of the concept to time travel, re grounding, like psychological grounding exercises, being grounded in your body in the present moment in time. So I'm going to say re-psychological grounding. If you're curious, my notes are always this verbose. If I've managed to condense it, I'm really uh, must be doing really well. Trying to get my point across is sometimes a pain. Okay, so there are two things. Okay, what other challenges? Like, I don't know, like what kinds of objects relate to these concepts? Because I make objects. That's like I make installations, but the installation is like stage 2. Stage 1 is making a compelling object. Like having a thought, being like, "Well, that's wild," and then, like, making a physical object that reminds me of that thought, which makes me wanna go on a brief tangent about crystals and how I don't think the rock itself has the energy, but the rock itself is, like, a pretty shiny reminder of, a psychological concept that you can then use to channel that energy. Like, if you wanna remind yourself to be creative and you know that I can't remember what this rock is. I just remember that it is supposed to mean creativity. So sometimes if I am trying to embody creativity, I'll pick up this rock. I'll be like, yes, I'm holding the creative rock now. It's like the speaking stick or whatever in a conversation where you're in a group conversation where you're trying to make sure everybody knows who's supposed to be speaking. And this is me going, all right, the creative part of my brain needs to be speaking right now. Um, and that's kind of like my larger art practice. That's a really good metaphor, actually. I love coming up with metaphors. That's like my favorite thing. Visual metaphors, that's just world. Um, uh, and yes, it has weirded out many classrooms full of students when I try to talk about things. Uh, but it also, oh my gosh, stream keeps like turning off then turning back on again. Ew. I feel like it's kind of like my brain, just constantly turning on and off. But yeah, no, extended metaphors. An easier way for me to communicate just because I don't know, maybe it's I feel like it's a weird autism thing where it's like the way other people describe things doesn't usually make sense to me. So I'm like, can you describe it to me in a way that I can like imagine physically? Like like can you relate it to something else that I do understand so that I can wrap my head around it? Um, I think that's what that is. Yeah, making objects is to my art practice what uh, crystals, like objects, I'm not making objects, objects I have made are to my art practice as crystals are to woo woo spiritualism. All right, I made a note of that because I liked that. I was like, I can use that in a grant application because all I think about now are grant applications and how I really want to get a grant for my work so that I can start earning money to put these projects into practice. Which is another reason why, it's nice to have this stream. And I can talk about practically nothing for an hour. Case in point, it's 10 minutes till 4, and I've just been chatting for about an hour. And I'm not as tired. That, like, the other big thing about doing just me chatting to the camera streams all the time is that, like, that's a lot of energy that I feel like I don't always have. Like yesterday, I have 2 part-time teaching jobs, and by the time I got home, I'm like, I don't want to teach anybody to do anything. I don't want to talk. I don't want to. I just want to lay here on the couch and probably take a nap. Um, but okay, we got some solid ideas here. But yeah, what kind of objects relate to the concept of time travel? It honestly could be a really good brainstorm. Um, I know another thing that I like, uh, another way of thinking of it could be like, how do I, what kinds of objects relate to these concepts? Um, Knobs and switches, a switchboard. Uh, it's kind of the classic aesthetic of time travel, um, which is inherent to like my aesthetic is this like post-apocalyptic, weird mechanical, uh, while also being strangely earth toned, earth textured stuff. Um, when I take pictures, I like the very like earthy, natural colored filters, and even so, I love to wear bright colors. Like this yellow shirt, it's very yellow. I like this yellow. Um, it's gonna be interesting if I ever manage to watch this later. um, what was I? I was hyper focusing on beetles, the bugs, last night. I wonder if there are any bugs that are associated with time travel. That'd be kind of neat. Let's put that on my weird, like, maybe I just start with the objects that I'm interested in if we try and shoehorn them into time travel later. Because I did, one of the other things I wrote about was like, I want to, like, spider grabbers. Uh, I guess necrobotics is a term that some scientists are using, some mechanical engineers. Uh, oh man, I don't know where to turn down the encoding settings so that okay, now I'd be in stream. I don't think I can. Okay, sorry, I keep glancing up, and sometimes it's like the stream isn't even happening, and I'm afraid folks are gonna miss it. But I don't think there's anybody here, so nope, no one's tuning in for my yammering. That's okay. Uh, Half the battle right now is just doing this consistently enough they get comfortable with it, so it's less cringeworthy and more people will watch it later. Okay. Uh, yeah, so maybe we'll start with the objects. Insects versus time. That's a concept we're gonna have to look into. I'm also gonna need something to like sip on. I might just leave you with Magpie for a minute, while I run and go get some water. Yeah, so do bugs have anything to do with time? Uh, Light. I know light has to do, like, I know that light is delayed traveling through space to get to us. Like, we're looking into the sky at stars that were doing what they were doing, like, many thousands, maybe even millions of years ago. I don't know the conversion off the top of my head. I just know that, like, what you're looking at in the sky is not exactly what's actually happening in the sky at the moment that you're looking at it. It's like light that is traveling from the past and has finally reached the earth where you can like it's finally reaching your eyeballs where you can see it. Um so honestly, light light versus time, and light I generally like to relate to photography and projection. And those kind of nerdy topics. I always kind of come back to that. So light, why don't we look at how light, how does relate to time? So maybe letting that, how does it relate to time? And then if I answer that question, then I can start to bring in the photography and projection aspect, which I like. Um, I have this idea for shadow boxes. Or they're not, okay, they're not shadow, sorry, light box displays of photography. Light box displays. Um, yeah, displaying some of my black and white photography, like displaying the negative as a like backlit image that's lit by some kind of light box. Um, and that's originally that, and thinking about portals and some fun, weird visuals that came about out of darkroom errors and like chemicals getting funky and making my darkroom negatives look funky. That's when I first started thinking about portals because I was like, this would be a really interesting like thing to display and talk about, you know, portals. Okay. Ooh, okay. There's another idea that I remember having. I don't know if I ever wrote it down. Lightbox displays that are only lit when you press them down. So you have to, in order to really see the image and what's going on, you have to engage with them with your sense of touch. Okay, that is interesting. Um, okay. So I think in terms of where my research is going to go, I need to really get a better understanding of how light relates to time, like from a scientific standpoint. Uh, I strongly believe that the scientific method and the artistic process are basically the same thing. At least for me, they're definitely the same thing. Um, so right now, I have a little like printout that has all of the stages. Um, so right now, I'm like writing down my observations about time travel. I'm communicating them to you right now via this video. Um, and I am developing, so observation is what's happening, and then question, which like I have a hard time observing things without coming up with questions. So one of the first questions I want to ask is what kind of objects relate to these concepts? And then, yeah, how does light relate to time? I think those will be my 2 big questions that I need to start journaling and sketching and researching about. I am probably gonna disappear for a minute because I need water. And when I get back, I will stop mumbling and maybe start sketching, do something a little bit different. Um, well, can still follow along. Ugh, why am I tired? All I've been doing is sitting here thinking about things, but that takes energy too. Okay, so hopefully the cat will stay. I also am not wearing socks and I need a sweater because it's getting chilly in my studio. Although it's been unseasonably warm for the past few days, it's kind of insane. Okay, sorry, I can feel the neurons zooming around in the blender that is my mind. I like watching that part when I move the chair. It's like, what do you mean this chair rolls? What do you mean you're shifting? All right, I'll be right back with socks and something to sip on. And a jacket. Can't forget the jacket. It's cold in here. All right. I'm gonna leave Magpie to keep you entertained. I'll be back in just a couple minutes. Oh, he left. Where you going, buddy? I need to feed you too. I've been making these homemade electrolyte beverages. So my doctor's like, you need more electrolytes. Uh, this is 3 out of 4 of these I have to have a day. Honestly, I should probably be having more than that. I'm supposed to have 2 liters of electrolyte stuff a day, and that's 4 pints, and that's how I've been measuring it out. Because 8 cups feels like an insurmountable amount of liquid to drink. But a pint I can get behind. Uh, I think I put a little too much salt in this. Oh boy. We're probably gonna splash some more water in there in a sec. Okay. So I've got this concept. Well, where the heck did I put my sketchbook? There's one. I have more than one sketchbook. They just I always know where they are. Okay, so here's one. This has got like notes. Hey, I gotta re-up on. I've got notes from my psychology of human development class. Principles of human development. I wrote some great essays today in that class that I did not submit on time. That's the only reason I didn't do so well. Okay. Ooh, that's where I've done so many funky drawings and things. Like, here's some torches and alcohol lamps. I was drawing to get a feel for the aesthetic to present to my friend who's a tattoo artist, and there's an alcohol lamp in my tattoo. I love them so much. The shape is so nice. Okay. Ooh, I did start sketching things. Okay, cool. I did start putting things on a page of my sketchbook for this. So what I think I'm gonna do, we'll keep this going until 5. I still don't have anyone every time I ask it what's going on. Oh, wild. You can stream to shorts now, which I'm sure is it's just making it look like an Instagram or TikTok feed. That's so annoying. Okay. What also might help? Don't mind my bored face just looking at all of things YouTube dashboard. Okay. I know I have Yeah, see, it says encoding overloaded. Boo hiss. Okay. Turning off the Pomodoro timer. Locking that so I'm not fussing with it. But I am try to swap over. Whee! So part of what you'll see is my sketchbook or me, and the other part will be whatever's on my screen. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. Properties. Okay, I didn't actually. Okay. How about. Oh, cool. There we go. Oh, need a fundito. Don't mind me figuring out how technology works. This is stuff I could just endlessly toy with. Now there I'm back. There's the YouTube thing. Okay, it's locked in on the camera. What I actually want to do is have this. Hey, infinite lenses. I'm looking at this. Can you see it? Is my big question. Okay, cool. So this is going to be make this smaller. Or maybe actually making me smaller. Oh no, okay, I didn't do quite the right thing on this. Let's do, okay, window, Google Chrome, new tab. Okay, that's all I really want on that. Oh, boo hiss. Why? Why are we doing all of the? Okay, so that works. Plus audio. Oh, what did I do? I'm sure someone knows how to. No, it's not gonna be. I don't want OBS. I just want my Chrome, my new tab. Oh yes. Okay, this is not gonna do it right now. I'm sure there's something I'm doing wrong. I'm sure. Don't mind OBS. Mhm. I swear I did this right last time. Okay, I'm just gonna click into the right. So you can see my face. I did that and then immediately sat at an angle that was awkward and uncomfortable. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start our research, which is why I have my Google, my great Google Lily open. Okay. Anything in my research already? I mean, honestly, all these things. Hey, rustical and invertebrates for sale. Okay, I'm swapping back to the camera for a hot second. So if I need to tilt this, okay, I do need to tilt this slightly. Or just shift the camera. There we go. Boop. The stream's so far behind, I can't see what I'm doing. Okay. I don't know, we'll just ask Google one of my questions so we can start developing a hypothesis. Oh, right. Light relate to time. All right, so that's a lot of medium articles and core questions, which is not the research I'm looking for. We'll check the second page of. Oh, here we go. Why y'all putting the physics stack exchange on the second second page of Google? Google results. General relativity. Light frequency and time relation. Our physics stack exchange is just specific, like chat room-ish thing, isn't it? I don't, okay. I'm afraid to click on space.com. I don't know if I can trust this. This is interesting. Okay. I'm gonna scroll down and see if they have like a bio. Okay. This is. Oh, hell yeah. I love related articles. Sometimes that's my favorite thing. So what I do on Wikipedia is I just look at the. I'll read through the information and then click into the source that has whatever information I find interesting. Oh, they're talking about everyone measures time differently depending on where they are. But as a neurodivergent person with ADHD, time blindness is sometimes a thing. Sometimes I have collected enough data about in my brain about how long it takes me to do a certain task to the point where like I'll get done with the task and be like, I'm pretty sure that took me 5 minutes and it is now 8:05, like or whatever time it is. And I'm really on top of it. When it comes to like, oh, I need to get in the car as quickly as humanly possible because if I don't leave in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to be 5 minutes late. And then my brain is like, but what about the other 50 things you forgot to do, including like you didn't realize that you had to pee until right just this very moment? So already, like, already I'm relating. Yeah, there's something. Okay. So this, they're talking about everyone measuring time differently depending on their speed. We on Earth should have a different perspective on the flow of time than someone else on a different planet or on a different sun in a different galaxy. Okay. So this is just, yeah, time relative to Earth is different than time experienced on Mars, which makes sense to me. Maybe I'll start calling these episodes study breaks. Except that's already kind of a. We'll see if people like this better. Okay. Time experienced on Earth. Different experience of time on Mars. So talking about looking at the universe as the system in which they're talking about time. I want to relate, can this relate to ADHD? I think it can. Hmm, so the autism part. Um, and these might just, I'm just making some connections, some correlations. I have not, I have not begun to explore uh, causation. Humans of being from another planet. Time blindness, not experiencing passage of time. Uh, you could argue that, like, I guess more classically ADDers than ADHDers experience time travel all the time. Because if we're really focusing on something, by the time we get out of it, we're like, what time is it? How much time has passed? I don't know. If I'm not sitting in front of a clock, I don't know. So constantly time traveling, just dictating my notes. Okay, so ADHD, experiencing time blindness, not experiencing the passage of time. So constantly time traveling. Constantly time traveling from moment of awareness to moment of awareness. Okay. Uh, special relativity. Okay, so relativity is general. Okay, special and general relativity. It's just a like a when you're talking about all these concepts, you can very quickly feel like you're floating in space, and relativity is the tether. It's shorthand for saying like relative to the Earth. Our universe expands with time. Oh, Jesus. Just keeps getting bigger. Smaller the past will be bigger in the future. That connection between a particular moment in time and the size of the universe. That's insane. This allows us to construct a universal clock that's been ticking away for over 13 billion years. Insane. Utter fucking insanity. I really probably need to not curse in order to eventually get these monetized. Alright. Yeah, see, this is talking about traveling at the speed of light, which I feel like is a little. I guess I'm like. I guess I'm less thinking about. Less interested in thinking about um, how. Less interested in thinking about moving at the speed of light and more just like thinking about just the general relationship between light and time. But that is probably the relationship of light and time. That's annoying. Okay. Because I don't necessarily think. Ooh, now here's a weird one. Here's a weird one because I'm kind of thinking about the speed of thought and how fast that happens, which is the next thing I'm about to Google. um, I also haven't verified how legit this source is. It seems pretty okay. Uh, Outdoor hiss. Oh, yep. Because this is talking about traveling at the speed of light, and I am thinking of time travel in terms of the speed of thought. So I'm writing down speed of thought versus speed of light. Yeah, speed of thought versus speed of light. And how those work. Okay. So time slows down for you the faster you get, the speed of light of the light itself. It's moving at the maximum posted speed limit of the universe. Just like I don't not experience time at all. Kind of, but not quite. Ooh, weird. Okay. Okay, yeah. Interesting. That's cool. Physics says light travels at the same speed no matter who's observing it. Curious if anyone has ever tried to measure the speed of thought and see if it's different, especially different between people of different neurotypes. That would be really fascinating to me. No biology, especially okay. How does light experience time? Uh, oh, okay, so you twist your brain in some knots, and it's not that light doesn't experience time, it's that time doesn't even apply to light. They're so different, they're just not even, light doesn't even know what time is. It's pretty, yeah. Okay, now they've got like, they pose a question. Both twins, one twin that's so close to the speed of light, the other stays at home. Faster, blasts around the galaxy, having well before returning to the boring fall of Earth, you're just hungry. And the rocket twin, maybe a few months, weeks or months, and on ship time. And then exactly years and decades of moving clocks run slow. I still don't fully understand that, but we'll get there. Okay, so it's just relativity is perspective of perspective that was got to the end of that story. That was kind of depressing. Okay, I should put that in my read later. I probably will. All right, open a new tab. New tab. Who dis? New tab. Who dis? Okay, it is respecting my new tab. Okay, because now I want to compare to speed of thought. Obviously, light travels faster. People also ask, what is faster, the speed of light or thought? Hmm. Speed of thought is also a film. Let's see. Okay, here's the Caltech article. I remember when I was looking at going there for science school as an undergrad. All right, thinking slowly. Is that an average? Dang. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so apparently our thoughts travel at 10 bits per second, which I don't actually know exactly what that is. Uh, if you're like internet, like speed, the speed of like very nice, like well loading internet is like over 100 megabytes per second. 10 bits per second is like, yeah. But our body's sensory systems gather data at a rate of 1 billion bits per second, which is 100 million times faster than our thought processes. Based on this study from Caltech, from 2024. Okay, so Caltech study thought travels at 10 bits per second. I'm also not entirely sure what bits versus bytes, what the relationship with that is, but uh, I am genuinely curious whether there's a difference to how quickly different neurotypes are able to process thoughts. So it certainly feels like the inside of my brain is much speedier than the outside, or much speedier. Yeah, it's going a million miles a minute to the point where it seems like it's going slowly because I can't possibly talk fast enough to communicate exactly how fast my brain is moving. Okay. Okay, it's all about gathering data, the speed at which it gathers data. Okay, there's the gathers data. At 1 billion bits per second, which is nuts. Oh man, that is probably why. Ah, that probably is why it's such a pain in the ass to have ADHD. Because they're talking about neuroscientists thinking, like, why can we only think about one thing at a time while our sensory systems process thousands of inputs at once? And part of the reason it's a pain in the ass to have ADHD is because our sensory systems are particularly sensitive and we're constantly trying to think of like there's a train of thought for every sensory system, so we're struggling to process because we're following all of our sensory systems and splitting our brain into multiple pieces, and it's freaking exhausting. So, like, we're only capable of thinking about one thing at a time, but like when you have ADHD, you're thinking about trying really hard to think about five different things at the same time, and then you can't get going on anything because you're like, but what focus on? Don't know what to focus on. Like can't. Oh, that's wild. Okay. Sorry, I saw a notification, wanted to make sure it wasn't anything super duper important. No, of course not. Okay. Okay. Because I know quite a few ADHDers, and Lord knows we all be thinking we're thinking of multiple things at the same time. None of it very thoroughly. Okay, cool. It is a basic unit of information in computing. Okay. Okay, so they do actually relate it to Wi-Fi. Yeah, a typical Wi-Fi connection can process 50 million bits per second. And they're saying, based on their research, that our brains uh, can process. Mhm. Okay, so it's not thought travels at. Um, thought processes 10 bits of information per second. Okay, and you're like basic Wi-Fi processes 50 million bits per second. So another reason we're all like freaking out about the internet is it travels so much faster than our brains. Freaking out. All right, a new study is about techniques to build information theory. Boop, 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 boop. All right, scientific applying information theory to scientific literature on human behaviors, like reading, writing, playing video games, and solving Rubik's cubes. I love the aesthetics of a Rubik's cube, but that is a puzzle that has never made particularly good sense to me. And I love a puzzle. I do not understand the Rubik's cube. Ooh, now I want. Okay, yeah. To every moment we're extracting just 10 bits from the trillion that our senses are taking in, and using those 10 to perceive the world around us and make decisions. They're asking, what is the brain doing to filter all of this information? Lord only knows. Uh, some folks are filtering very. I'm wondering if part of the difference between like an ADHD, ADHD, and or autistic neurotype is like the ability to filter information. Where like we're not like if you're neurospicy, if you're like your filter is less efficient, but you're taking in it's like you're taking in more information and you're not missing as much of the information, but you're not processing it as efficient. It's taking longer to process because you are taking in more information where like maybe in an holistic brain, like it's much more efficient at filtering out what is or isn't relevant information. Um, um, Weird. Okay, this is really fun. Okay. Yeah, I do. I really want to know like how to apply this to research on neurodiversity. Because if we each fall into different neurotypes, and like there may be no like normal, there's just different kinds, different flavors. But I do. I wonder what the processing speeds are for different flavors of brain. Okay, so there's over 85 billion neurons in the brain. One third of these are dedicated to high level thinking located in the cortex. One of the pieces that I made recently, I called Cortex. Um, and now I'm thinking about how I can retool that for another. There's a grant opportunity at a science college in Santa Fe that I want to apply to. And to do that, I was going to try and use some work that I've already created in a new installation there. And now, based on the sentence I just read, I'm like, okay, if I want to bring in some of these new concepts, explore some of these new concepts, relate it to some of my past work, um, this might be the way to do it. So part of my brain is saying yes, like yes, this is a good tangent, this is a good linkage, but also like while this is technically its own new train of thought, it's not exactly new because it's still related to all the other things that I find interesting. Um, okay, so another question. I would be willing to bet that neurospicy brains have more effective filters that are less efficient while not so neurospicy brains have very efficient but not as effective filters for information. That's a flippin' hypothesis. Okay. Gonna write down this hypothesis. I don't know if I'm gonna do anything about this. I kind of want to look and see if anyone else in science has been thinking about this question. Maybe I'll start a Twitter that's just ideas for scientific research that I think are interesting. Maybe I should talk to someone who's interested in this line of study if anyone. I don't know. I'll get there in a minute. Um, uh, maybe we're almost at 5 o'clock. Um, more effective filters, information. Uh, Less effective. Oh, not so nervous. I see things have more effective filters or more efficient, sorry, efficient filters. Efficient filters that are less effective. Where effectiveness is like how much information you're taking in. So essentially, like, I'm wondering if neurospicy brains have a tighter mesh. Tighter mesh. So, so like non-neurospicy can process more, but is going to miss more of that information and not take in those details. Where like, are the neurospicy then taking in more detail? I think that's actually a very intelligent hypothesis, if I do say so myself. Thank you, brain. Ooh, ooh. Okay, I did talk about the god. Okay. I also read that uh, what qualifies as higher level thinking in the cortex. I'm assuming they mean higher level thinking to be, I don't know, academic thought processes that aren't like essential to like your body's essential functions. is what I'm assuming. I'm assuming higher level thinking is like academic thinking, which in our very hierarchical world makes it seem like that's like higher level thinking be like philosophical thinking. Perhaps I'm not sure. I need to look at it. Okay. Yeah, perhaps we shouldn't refer to things as higher level thinking. Visual neurons are powerful information processors. Individual neurons can transmit more than 10 bits per second of information. Why don't they? Why do they have so many for thinking so slowly? Okay, another conundrum. Okay, what? Okay, then what is what are you talking about? Individual neurons can process more information, can easily transmit more than. How much can they transmit? That's what I want to know. But why don't they? I don't. And some people they might. Right. And I was like, but I guess I'm gonna click on that. There's a hyperlink on individual neurons. I want to know more about how much they process. Okay, so they transmit more information than we're actually reading, is what I'm getting from this. Mm, 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 2 minutes per second. Another conundrum. There's like 85 billion neurons. And like, why do we have so many if we can't, if we can't transmit more than 10 per second? Uh, transmit more bits. Like, why do we have so many neurons and we're not using them to their full capacity? Is essentially what they're asking. I don't know. Maybe a bunch of them are duds. Uh, why does the brain process one thought at a time rather than many in parallel the way our sensory systems do? I think my brain tries to do that, and that's part of what's so hard about being in my brain is that it's trying to process information in the same way that my sensory system does. It's trying to do that intellectually, and that's part of the fucking problem. For example, a chess player envisioning a set of future moves can only explore one possible sequence at a time rather than several at once. My brain is constantly trying to process several future possibilities at the same time. Yeah, I'm not following only one path of thought at a time. Or maybe I'm following one path at a time, but we're flipping through so many different paths that what am I even paying attention to anymore? That makes a lot of sense. Might not to you, but yeah, here's my process at work. Here's the stuff that I want to spend more time doing. So perhaps I will actually do more of these weird, we all learn things uh, streams. So I hope you have enjoyed. Ooh, I don't even know where OBS went. Ooh, now we're in the Twilight Zone. I'm gonna turn that off. Yay. Ooh, wrong frame. Wrong frame. There I am. I'm gonna make me big again. Boop. So I hope you've enjoyed this ramble through the annals of my consciousness. This was actually more fun than I anticipated, and I thought this was going to be really exhausting, and I'm kind of exhilarated instead. So maybe this is the direction the stream will take. I don't know. Maybe do a little bit of both. Both the just doing and the um, thinking about things, taking notes. I took some shiny notes. What are my shiny notes? Shiny notes. Uh, yeah, so we would be thinking about quantum physics one moment and then how shiny glitter is the next. Wee. Um, sorry, I was unwittingly going on a tangent in my brain uh, about shiny things and then glitters and then like how different makeup pigments have color shifting properties, and I wonder if that has something to do with like the structure of the component parts that are making up the makeup, because that's apparently how bugs have such wild colors. It has more to do with physically what shape the structures of things on the surface of their bodies have and how that bends light, and that is what makes them colorful, not pigments, which is wild. And then we have this makeup that does this what, like color changing stuff with pigments, but I wonder if some of it is not pigment based, is then based on the shape of their component parts. Okay. Um, so this has been a trip into my brain. Uh, hope you have enjoyed. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we're going to try and do something to this effect tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to be this exact format. I haven't decided yet, mostly because as soon as I decide, my brain goes, I want to do something different. So, um, thanks for making it to the end of this stream. Hope you had fun. If you watch this later, comment below and let me know what format of video you like better. Whether you liked listening to me ramble for a while um, about science or not, and what concept you found most compelling. Okay, thanks so much. Bye.